So, news today is that the NBA is involved in insider betting and organized crime. What? Okay, so if you haven't heard about this, you must be asleep for 24 hours. But if you have and you want a little bit more information, I did some digging because, you hear things like wire fraud and things like this, and you hear different NBA players are being associated with this, and you're wondering, like, what exactly is going on. Well, I'm going to break it down for you, and then I'm going to ask some questions. Okay, so just to catch you up, FBI Director Kash Patel, which so funny that his name's Cash in this situation, but Kash Patel held a press conference about a far-reaching federal investigation leading into multiple arrests across two primary overlapping criminal schemes involving insider betting and organized crime. The probe unsealed indictments against dozens of people, including current and former NBA figures, alleged members of organized crime families like the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families. I feel like I tried to put a little sauce on that. The investigation focused on two main operations. The first part of it was the sports betting manipulation on NBA games. So the focus was insider trading on player performance, prop bets, and game outcomes. The method they were using was these players allegedly provided non-public information such as their plans to sit out a game, anticipated quote unquote minor injuries, or intent to exit a game early. They would give this information to a network of bettors. This information was used to place high value under wagers that profited from a player underperforming or not playing. So essentially, they were giving this information. People were then making bets to take the under. All right. You're going to take the over under. You know your guy's going to go under. Players can control under. Over is a little harder to control. Okay. So the games that were targeted were several involving teams like the Trailblazers, which, if you're my age, you remember when they used to be called the Jailblazers. Heat, Hornets, Lakers, Magic. The manipulation often involved a player promising to exit the game early on a pretext of an injury. Okay. So let's review some of the key figures and what their roles were in this scheme. Okay. So it's centered on exploiting non-public confidential NBA information, primarily to profit from prop bets. Okay. So one individual, one player is Terry Rozier, a current Miami Heat guard. Okay. His role in this is and his allegation, he's being charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering, allegedly supplying insider information about his own and other players' performance to the betting ring. For example, in March of 2023, while he was with the Hornets, Rozier allegedly tipped off a co-conspirator that he planned to leave a game early due to a quote-unquote purported injury. This allowed the betting ring to place over $200,000 in successful under props on his stats, generating large wins, okay? So this reminds me of a movie from the early 90s. It's like, this isn't new. This isn't something that's just started. There's a movie called Blue Chips, folks. Don't you remember? First off, coach starts paying players, which is legal now. So the premise is kind of whack, but the big emotional scene when coach walks into the frat house, he throws over things to get in Tony's room, and he says, "Tony, tell me the truth, Tony. Tell me the truth." And Tony says, "I did it, coach. I did it. I just didn't score as much. It's just for the gamblers. We still won the game." Right? Okay. Tony was doing it in the 90s, everybody. Do you think that this hasn't been going on forever? But now we've got people in place that want to solve things. I'm loving it. Okay, what about Damon Jones? I keep thinking about the line. Not Tony. Tony's my guy, the assistant coach. Remember they're watching film? Not Tony. Tony's my guy. Oh, Terry's somebody's guy too. Damon Jones charged in both sports betting and the poker schemes. I haven't even touched on the poker schemes yet. These are great. I mean, these are millionaires, guys, and they're still like doing this. Anyway, okay. Allegedly, he used his relationship with a Lakers trainer and others to get tips on key players like LeBron, AD, who would be out or play limited minutes. Then he would give this information to the betting ring to make wagers on the game and outcomes on the prop bets. Okay. So, Terry Rozier, Damon Jones, I got bad news for you. You know what happened to Jonte? We're going to talk about it in a second. I mean, if this was baseball, you know what would happen. Lifelong ban. No Hall of Fame. Ask Pete Rose. Okay. How about who were the conspirators? Okay. The conspirators allegedly used the confidential information to place wagers through online sports books and retail outlets. They were often concealing their insider basis of the bets. The scheme covered activities between December 22 and March 24. That's 2 years of banking off these guys. Other unnamed players. The indictment references insider information obtained from other unnamed players, wonder who they are, and coaches regarding their injury status or plans to sit out of games, including a Portland Trail Blazers game and 2 Los Angeles Lakers games. Look, this information is going to come out. The only people that are protected from gambling scandals are generational players, okay? So Damon Jones, Terry Rozier, Jonte Porter, not generational players. Michael Jordan, I guarantee he had a gambling situation, but he's MJ. I mean, as recently as Shohei. You know, it wasn't Shohei's guy that was placing these bets. It was Shohei. But whenever you strike out 10 batters and hit 3 home runs in a deciding NLCS game, guess what? We're just going to throw that on your assistant, put him in jail for a few years, and then pay him off. Jonte Porter, he was the precedent for setting this. Okay, Porter was banned for life by the NBA in 24 when he was found to have disclosed his health status to a bettor and purposely limited his participation in a game to influence under prop bets. The authorities noted that some defendants in the new indictment also allegedly threatened Porter to ensure his cooperation. So maybe he was threatened. He must have done something to get in trouble. I have no idea. Okay, but I got the popcorn ready, so I'm ready to see all this. Who are these other unnamed people, right? Are the unnamed people bigger names that they don't want to put the names out there because then you've got to punish them? I mean, just think of the bigger names in the NBA. What if it was a LeBron? What if it was a Steph, right? Are they going to roll out that information? Are they going to tarnish their legacy and completely bomb the NBA? I wonder. Let's touch on the poker scheme real quick. Okay. They had games that were fixed using sophisticated cheating technology like tampering shuffling machines, hidden cameras, and X-ray tables. What is this, Spy Kids? NBA figures referred to as face cards, quote unquote, face cards. So when I say face later, that's what this is, were allegedly used to attract high wealth players and received a portion of the criminal proceeds. Players involved in this scheme, which is even worse in my opinion, Hall of Famer and current Jailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups. He is currently charged with wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering in connection with the rigged poker ring. He allegedly served as a quote-unquote face card, which is a well-known, high-profile figure used to attract wealthy, unsuspecting victims. They called him Fish to the rigged games. Prosecutors allege he was involved in defrauding victims out of at least $50,000 in one game. Billups' attorney has stated he intends to fight the charges. Well, he's got the money, right? Unless his funds are frozen. Damon Jones. Hey, we saw you earlier, Damon Jones. You're just in all of it, right? Damon Jones looks like he's the connector between the two. Charged in the connection of the scheme as well. The games were hosted in luxurious venues in places like Vegas, Miami, Manhattan, the Hamptons. Damon Jones was another face card. So just so you understand, let me break it down. The face cards are like recognizable people. They go to the Fish who just want to hang out with famous folks and be in the quote-unquote big boys card game. And they're basically just going in there and giving their money away because the X-ray tables are showing everybody what the cards are. The authorities named 3 of the La Cosa Nostra families as being involved, the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, with some reports also mentioning the Lucchese family. The cheating methods were all the technology that we talked about. Tampered self-shuffling machines. I would love to see how that works. Hidden cameras in chip trays. I don't trust anything. You can't trust anything anymore. And then X-ray technology to read face-down cards. These guys didn't invent this, everybody. They didn't invent this technology. It's already out there. And why is it out there? Because casinos are probably using this already to beat you. So, keep that in mind. The financial scope, the ring allegedly defrauded victims of over $7.15 million in total. The charges in the poker scheme also include allegations of violence and extortion against victims who failed to pay their gambling debts. So they tricked them to play, beat them out of their money, extended credit, beat them out of that money, and then they threatened bodily harm if they don't pay it up. In total, over 30 individuals were arrested across 11 states in connection with the 2 overlapping schemes, facing charges that included wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, and illegal gambling. My question to you is this. Do you think this is it? Do you think this is all? Right? I used to be a person that thought, hey, sports are on the up and up. How can you rig sports? But, my wife started saying whenever we were watching sports, she started watching sports with me back, early 2000s. And one game really stood out to her that had her scratching her head. It was an NFL game. It was the Atlanta Falcons visiting the New Orleans Saints, the first game back in the Superdome after Katrina, right? Everything about it was what the city had gone through and, what they had come back from and everything like that. And that was devastating. That was a devastating hurricane, right? But if Atlanta goes in and beats up New Orleans in the Superdome on the first game back post-Katrina, that's not a storyline, is it? But what is? If New Orleans beats up on Atlanta. Atlanta looked like a team that I had not seen playing that level of football the previous games and the games after that. That was the worst game they played. Play that they hung the entire game on. Gleason's blocked punt return for a touchdown. I mean, it was almost like too good to be true, right? It was almost like too good to be true. So was it true? Okay. It's got you watching every game with a crooked eye. Stephen A. Smith went off on this. He made highly notable and controversial comments regarding the FBI's investigation. He looks at it as an attack on the NBA. He looks at it as an attack from Donald Trump on the NBA because the NBA is so socially aware and woke and whatever. He said, Trump's administration is actively coming for the sports world, using the power of the federal government to settle old political scores. Old political scores. When prompted with this question, Kash Patel's response is, I'm the FBI director. I decide which arrests to conduct and which not to conduct. My thought is this. 1, the NBA has always been outspoken against Trump. That is true. That is true. You got NBA teams like the Warriors and 17 and 18 refusing to go to the White House? It's disrespectful. I am sure that there are members of championship teams that were not fans of previous presidents, whether it's Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, but they still had respect. Respect is something that we're losing. Respect is something that we don't have as much anymore out of the people that our kids are looking up to. My thought is this. Settling old scores, guess what? Don't do crime. Don't get arrested. Don't do bad things. Don't get caught doing bad things. That's my thought on this. It's not that complicated, folks. You're a millionaire basketball Hall of Famer. Why do you need to go rip off losers in a casino? You're an NBA guy. You want to make more money? Practice basketball more. Get better at basketball. Get a bigger contract. Right? You don't have to rip off dummies in Las Vegas and Manhattan and the Hamptons. Unreal. And in my opinion, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I think it needs a cleanup, and they're going to have to clean it up. The reason this passed for so long is because gambling was illegal. So if gambling was illegal, then everything associated with gambling was illegal, right? But now gambling is legal. Sports betting is legal, and it is a big business. So big business has to be regulated. That's just part of it. You can't do the things you used to do. When everything was illegal, it was hard to point out what the illegal thing was. Now sports gambling's legal. You can't go ripping off losers in Vegas, everybody. You can't fake injuries and tell people to take the under. You just can't do it. It's not the world you live in anymore. That's the 90s. That's the early 2000s. Heck, that's the 2010s, but it is not today. It is not today. So I'll leave you with this. My parting thought, and I've said it already. Nobody that is arrested here is the victim. The victims are the people that were robbed out of money, right? The victims are the ones that bet against the people that had inside information. Those are the victims in this story. Even though that seems silly, some idiot in Vegas that was like, oh my gosh, Chauncey Billups is talking to me. That moron is the victim, right? Chauncey Billups is the criminal. The criminals got caught, and they're going to get punished. And that's what happens. Guess what? Don't do crime, don't get arrested. It's a basic premise. Don't do crime, don't get arrested. But hey, watch out at the casinos. You know, they got those little cameras in the ashtrays and the cups now is what it said. X-ray tables. X-ray tables. I'm going to leave it with that. X-ray tables. Watch out for them.